Well, it appears the rumors may be true. Apple and Hyundai may be collaborating on a car that will be released in the near future. Should Tesla and other battery electric vehicle makers be worried? Let's find out. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I know that rumors have been floating around for a while, but within the past couple of days, Ming-Chi Kuo, who is a very highly rated analyst that works with Apple and has predicted a number of products ahead of time, has confirmed that Hyundai and Apple are pretty much in bed together to make a new Apple car to be released in around 2025. Some reports say it might be as early as 2024, others say it might be as late as 2027. So let's dig into the details and then talk about why this might matter and why it might not at all. I'm going to quote Apple Insider here first to get some of the details. Quote, in a note to investors, Kuo corroborated recent reports of a potential partnership with Hyundai, saying the first Apple car will be built on that company's Egmp electrical vehicle platform. Hyundai Mobis is taking the lead in component design and production, while Hyundai subsidiary Kia will handle production in the US. So first of all, it's important to note here that the Kia aspect is actually really important because Apple seems to have it very much in their head that they are going to manufacture these cars in the United States. And Hyundai traditionally does not want to manufacture things outside of Korea. The little kind of, I guess the wedge that they can use together is that Kia has a plant right near me in Georgia where they make Kia cars. And so Kia can actually manufacture a Hyundai-based car for Apple. That sounds really complicated, but essentially it'll be the Hyundai Egmp base, and then Apple will put the styling and probably the body on top of it and whatever luxury features they want to, and of course the AI technology and everything. And then Kia will actually build it for them either in Georgia or somewhere else in the United States. Sounds pretty complicated, but that sounds like the way it's going to be working. So what is the Egmp platform? Well, let's again look at Apple Insider here. Quote, unveiled in December, Egmp is a dedicated battery electric vehicle platform that consists of up to 2 motors, 5-link rear suspension, integrated drive axle, battery cells, charging system, and other rolling chassis components. According to the company, the system has a maximum range of about 310 miles on a full charge and is able to charge up to 80% within 18 minutes. Acceleration for a high-performance configuration is quoted at 0 to 60 in less than 3.5 seconds with a speed ceiling of 160 miles per hour. Hyundai intends to use Egmp as a foundation for a variety of models set to debut under both its flagship and Kia brands this year. So as you can tell, this is actually kind of a big deal because this is Hyundai's essentially, I guess it's sort of like Tesla's Model 3, Model Y configurations, is that they're building the cars on the same basic platform. Although it sounds like, I believe the Ioniq will be the first Hyundai to come out on this platform, but the platform itself is built to be used by multiple cars. This sounds like an excellent idea to me because it's a great cost savings because most of the complexity and the expense of the cars, the batteries and the motors and all of that other stuff will be essentially the same for every single one of these cars. And that allows them to save a ton of money by, of course, scaling their manufacturing to build the same thing over and over again. As far as the specs are concerned, 0 to 60 in less than 3.5 seconds sounds great, but that also sounds like that's their performance model. So that may be to some extent competing with something like a Model S in terms of cost instead of a Model 3, but we will have to see. And of course, the most exciting news about this is the 18 minutes to charge 0 to 80%. That's a very, very fast charge rate. And you know, that means that you could stop at a charging station, assuming that it worked properly, and you could probably within 10 minutes charge up a pretty reasonable amount of range, which rivals the ability to fill up a gas tank. So of course, this brings us back to Apple's Titan project, which has been rumored to be around since about 2014. I'm going to quote vehiclesuggest.com here for a little more information on that. Quote, the Titan project started in 2014, and after rumors that Apple had shelved it, it is still ongoing. In December of last year, Apple was reported to be working with TSMC for producing chips for the car. Earlier, Apple's plan was to partner with some automobile company and offer in-car tech. This later turned into a project associated with designing autonomous systems for vehicles. So I think this autonomous vehicle tech part is super, super important and is probably the main reason that Apple is actually interested in building a car at this point. If you check out my episode on the Apple M1 chip, you can find out more about this. But my basic contention is that Apple is building the M1 chip, which is again based on their phone chips, the Bionic chips, the 14 or whatever the latest version of it is. They're basically building ultra low power ARM-based chips that will work great in a laptop or a phone or eventually on a desktop computer, but will also be fantastic Trojan horses to get into cars. So essentially the Apple M1 chip built into some sort of embedded chip system will rival Tesla's inference engine chips, their hardware 3 and hardware 4 eventually. And of course, the idea will be to rival NIO's Atom chipset as well, NIO/NVIDIA's Atom chipset. And again, I did a video on that as well, so you can watch that as well. So in other words, what we have here is another horse getting into the race. It sounds to me like what Apple is trying to do is essentially source most of the components themselves, but use Hyundai's skateboard or whatever they call it, their base that they build their cars around or will be building their cars around, the Egmp thing. So basically they're going to get other people to manufacture all the parts and put the car together, of course, styled based on what, Apple wants, right? They always say like manufactured in China, but designed in Cupertino. So I'm sure it'll be really, really important to them that they will be designing this car in Cupertino and it will be super luxurious. And that's a really big aspect of this. So this is probably going to start off at well north of $100,000 is my guess. But the big aspect of this is that Apple will be building their own AI tech into the car, and it's going to be really, really important to them that they control that AI tech. And I'm sure their AI researchers are working super hard right now to solve autonomous driving as well, in order to have something where when the car gets introduced on the road, they are able to have autonomous driving at the same time. I don't really see the point of releasing yet another battery electric vehicle on the road, especially in 2025 or so. There's going to be a very crowded market for that. So their niche is going to be the tech that's inside of this. And I'm sure they'll have excellent entertainment and so forth, obviously, because that's one of the things they're noted for. But I'm also sure they really, really want to lick the full self-driving problem by then, and thus be able to compete with Tesla and others who may at that point have solved the problem as well. So finally, let's look at the time horizon of this release. Again, I'm going to go to vehiclesuggest.com that quotes Kuo's actual report in their article. So double quote here. Quote from the article, also quote from the report. We predict that Apple will launch the Apple Car in 2025 at the earliest. The new iPhone takes about 18 to 24 months from initial specification definition to mass production based on experience. Given the longer development time, higher validation requirements, more complicated supply chain management, and very different after-sales service channels for the automobiles, we believe that Apple, which lacks car building experience, is already on a tight schedule if it wants to launch the car in 2025. So as you can tell from that quote, Kuo actually believes it might be a year or two later than that. So in that case, should Tesla and GM and Ford and NIO and et cetera, be worried about Apple? I actually don't think so. This seems like a little bit late to the party in my mind. Now, again, Apple was not the first to invent a tablet-style phone or anything, but they were the ones who put it together well and made people want to use it. So they do have a habit of coming a little bit late to the party in terms of tech and then taking over by doing a better job. The problem right now is that Tesla is already doing an excellent job, and we've got companies like Lucid and we've got companies like NIO that are also doing excellent jobs, and they're really designing these things well. In fact, I believe these companies have taken a lot of lessons from Apple in terms of how to build their products and how to deal with their customers and how to, build the tech into it, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. Also, the other aspect of this is that a phone, relatively speaking, is really easy to build compared to an automobile, and it also costs very little, right? A phone costs a couple $100s to make, whereas an automobile costs tens of thousands of dollars to make, especially a luxury one. So honestly, I'm a big fan of Apple, and I'm a big fan of their M1 chip and their roadmap for having these incredibly low power ARM-based chips as opposed to Intel chips, which are just kind of a mess right now. I love all of that, but I really feel like Apple is kind of they're in a bad position right now. They're trying to build something that takes a really long time to build. And when they get to market, there's going to be so many other competitors that have really good market share and good mind share. So I don't know if it's going to transfer. I don't know that I, as a person, am going to go from saying like, wow, I love my iPhone, which, costs a few $100s, to going like, wow, I really need an Apple Car that's like $100,000 or something. That I just don't see that translating, and I don't see a massive market shift from one product to another just because the price difference is so large. So anyway, the problem is that Apple has been working since 2014 on this project. They really needed to hoof it, and they need to get this project solved. And of course, I'm assuming that they can lick the full self-driving problem without all the data that Tesla and others are, collecting. So I'm being very optimistic about Apple even being able to solve this problem. If they can't solve the full self-driving problem, then really their car is not particularly appealing to anybody. It'll just be another luxury car that they'll either have to purchase the tech from somebody else to do full self-driving, and so therefore it'll just be like everybody else's car, or it'll just not have full self-driving capability. And by then, by the late 2020s, people are going to expect that in a luxury high-end type of car, and probably even cheap ones like $25,000, $30,000 cars. So even given the fact that Apple is a massive company and has huge market share and huge mind share, I just don't see this product really making a big splash. I have a feeling they'll dip their toe into the water a little bit and see how an expensive model does, because that consumer base, the ones that have a lot of extra money, are the ones who are more likely to purchase one of these and just kind of see how it goes. Anyway, if that product works well, then obviously they'll try to scale it down and eventually they'll have the Apple Car SE or something like that, right? But I just don't really see it going very well because of how late it is. If they could release this sometime this year, they would have a really good chance. But I don't think they have a real good chance by releasing it in another 4 or 5 years or so. That's not going to work very well. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it fun and informative. I would love to know your opinions in the comments. If you let me know what you think. Do you think Apple's going to make a splash? Do you think they're just going to give up on this product eventually? Again, neither Apple nor Hyundai, well, Hyundai kind of said something about it in January, but they had to walk it back. But nobody's made an official press release that even says this is happening for sure. So I could see them putting a lot of money into this and then just deciding, nah, never mind, right? It's just not worth it. We're not going to make a big enough splash in this particular market. On the other hand, autonomous, robotaxi, whatever type of vehicles is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar business, as you can, again, see in my earlier videos. So, Apple's probably looking at that saying like, my goodness, we want to have a part of that. So definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. Meantime, if you enjoyed the video, please do like it so other people can find it and subscribe for more of these things. Don't forget our awesome merch store, which has some great t-shirts and tumblers and mugs, etc., etc., etc. And also don't forget we are Tesla and Amazon affiliates, so don't forget about looking in the description for that. And also a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon. Thank you all so much for all of your help and your support with this. I really do appreciate it. If you'd like to join the party, definitely look in the description for that as well. Thank you again for watching. If you have any big questions you want to ask me, of course, you can always write me at DrKnowItAllKnows@gmail.com. In the meantime, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.